homie Homerson. We fished a tournament, dude. So, yeah, we did okay, and that was actually the goal, to see if we could hang with these local guys. Every once in a while, I'm shooting the videos, I'm catching fish, I feel like I'm on them, I feel like I'm being successful and executing the way I should, and then I stop for a second and I'm like, dude, there's like thousands of other guys that fish this lake, and I'm literally just fishing against myself at the moment. I wonder if like everybody's catching them, or if I'm on to something, or you always question yourself. I think that's what fishing is, and that's one of the sort of the enamoring aspects of fishing is for as much as you think you know what's going on, you never truly know what's going on, and you always want to know more. You want to, like, am I catching them? Am I in the best pattern? Are the bass doing something else? Is this happening all over the lake? It's one of those games. But what I want to do is get with you guys and give you a little recap of my tournament. I did not shoot video that day. Couple reasons. One, the heat, it overheats the GoPros a lot, so I didn't want to deal with the overheating GoPro and go back and forth. The other thing, for those of you guys that actually know me directly and met me before, you will know I shoot video every single minute of every single hour that I am on the water, and I wanted to just go out and have fun. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not saying that shooting the videos isn't fun, but very rarely do I not have a camera bra on, the man bra in the chesty and that. So I wanted to take my man bra off. I wanted to get out there and just get after and have a good old time, and I did. It was a lot of fun. It was a great group of guys. Fished the ABA on Guntersville. It was out of Goose Pond, which is in the more northern section of the lake. And really, it was an interesting pattern. We did a little pre-fishing. If you guys go back, you can see the pre-fishing video where we shook off some fish. We accidentally hooked like a 7 to 8 pounder. Nice job, Mike. Not that fish would have bit the day of the tournament, but you don't want to do stuff like that. Not the brightest, most, detail-oriented pre-fishing. But let me break down the patterns, because I know a lot of you guys actually fish Guntersville, and a lot of the patterns apply for some of the summer fishing that we're doing. So my main key is I was fishing grass edges or weed lines for those of you up north, and I'm allowed to talk like that because I'm originally from Wisconsin, okay, so we were fishing grass lines, weed lines, hard spots though, like harder spots along those grass lines and weed lines. And the key is really just locating like small groups of fish that were there and active. I had quite a few of them to run. We had idled a lot and really used our Lowrance electronics to kind of locate those on side scan. And once I found those fish, my approach was it was kind of like a 1, 2, 3 process. It was a lot like ledge fishing, but in the grass. So basically what I would start with, and the little tweak that I've been doing, is this guy right here. So it is a Chatterbait Mini, the green pumpkin. I got a little spunk shad on there. It's the little, I think, 3.5 inch. So a tiny little spunk shad. And what I'm doing is I got it on a lighter rod. This is a Halo Rave. It's a medium action rod. I got a full video on this too, dude, so I'm not going to go super deep into it. But basically what I was doing is one of two things. I'm either fishing this chatterbait like a jig, or I'm actually like dragging it along the bottom, and then the bait's just raising it a little bit every once in a while, just a soft kind of slow side drag, or I was actually hair jigging it. So basically I would cast it out there and burn it for like 4 or 5 reels, and then I'd kill it and let it settle back down. And I was getting a reaction out of those fish, because a lot of these fish are super pressured. They've seen a lot of baits, and the only way I could get some of these groups of fish to bite was to actually force them to bite, make them make a decision. And that was really my key pattern going in. So I got out there in the morning and I started doing this, and dude, it was not happening. I ended up catching like 3.5, almost 4, doing it. But usually when this would happen is I'd get on a spot, I'd make some casts with that chatterbait, I could fire them up, I could catch 2 or 3. I wasn't catching like 20, 25, but I'd catch 2 or 3 good ones, and then I would slow down and turn to my more like finesse sort of detailed approaches. But really in the morning it just wasn't happening. It actually kind of sucked. Overall, by the end of the day, when I kind of talked with some of the guys fishing, it was a tough day compared to what it was been, especially in practice. It seemed like every place in practice I rolled up, I'd get a bite, shake it off, or I'd hook a 4-pounder on accident, whatever. But that's tournament fishing. This lake sees a lot of pressure. It sees a lot of boats driving around, and personally I think that really changes the attitude of the fish on a Friday or a Thursday versus a Saturday, and that's when this event went off. But basically I'd use that chatterbait, and so I immediately, like within an hour and a half in the morning, like they're supposed to bite in the morning, and I'm like, dude, hell no. Like, they are not on it. Like you can see on your active target, like on your forward facing, they're not moving around. There aren't nearly as many fish on some of these spots that I found, like because I can see them on the grass line. So I'm like, dude, I got to start making some changes. I need to, one, rotate a lot more spots. I can't, like I might have caught a 5-pounder here like a month ago, or I might have shook off what I thought was a big fish yesterday, but I got to give up on that crap. Like they're either going to bite and they're on these places, or I got to keep rotating until I find one, or I find the time window, which is actually a big key out here, the time window when they actually set up and get active. So I started hopping spots. The other change that I made is, instead of going straight to my chatterbait presentation, I started grabbing these two guys, basically a Nico rig and then a Texas rig worm, just a little stick bait. This one was cut down. I was also throwing just a standard, you guys know I throw this all the time. It's an ace, a 5-inch ace in Magic Craw, just a super great bait for dragging through the grass. So what I started doing is started running up to these places, and instead of throwing that chatterbait immediately, I would throw those worm presentations, so I wasn't like spooking the fish. They were obviously lethargic, not in a good mood, and I started getting more bites doing that. There were less fish, but I could fish more specifically for them. So at about like, I don't know, like 9 o'clock or so, I ended up catching 2 like 3-pounders, and then I caught a 4.5, and the 4.5 that I actually caught was on this guy. That's the Berkeley, like that Scent Fantastic. It's one of the Berkeley kind of straight tail worms, with a little Nico rig weight, little weedless hook right there, this little BKK hook, and basically just throwing it around grass. What I actually found is I would shake it, but shake it on a very slack line and very non-aggressively. Prior to this, with that Nico rig, I could be very aggressive with it. That was not happening, dude. Not happening at all. I was forced to kind of let it sit, dead stick it, and really kind of let that worm soak, which is a classic summer pattern, just not the way I wanted to catch them. But I ended up catching 2 bigs. By about 10, 11 o'clock, I think 10 o'clock, 10:30, I had like 17.5 or something like that. So I was on my way, not a winning weight, but a decent, comfortable place to be, kind of midday. At that point, I'm like, I got a decision. I had run down to the lower lake to run a bunch of spots, and that was about I don't know, like a 15-mile run. And I'm like, I need to either start running back or I need to sit here all day. So what I did is I started running back towards the boat ramp, ran about halfway back, hit a few more kind of grass and hard spots that I had up there. And I don't know what changed, but the bite started kicking on. I hit one community hole and I caught my biggest fish of the day, like a 5.3. That was sort of a unicorn fish. That came on the new Gambler prototype hover rig that we have coming. This thing is absolutely naughty and on a fluke, dude. This is a Gambler Super Stud. It's basically just it's a weighted hook that you fish suspended. I actually saw that fish, casted to him, shook that bait, and it was the one bite I got out of that community hole. I could not get any of the other fish to bite. So that was a bit lucky, but you take the breaks that you can get when you get them. So hooked that fish, tossed her in the well, called me out. That immediately put me at, I believe, a 19 3/4 or something like that. So big call right there. I'm at 19. I'm like, dude, I got to break 20. Like, I need 25 to win, I think. And I was on that kind of bite, I thought, but we need to at least get to 20, so we're at least playing respectable. And I think it's really realistic. You know, at that point we had a lot of 3.25s, 3.5s. I think I had one 5.3 and one 4.8, so those were my staple fish, and then the rest were in that 3.5 to 3.75, 3.25 range. The rest of the day I spent running around with that worm thing, dragging a worm, throwing that Nico rig, dragging that stick bait. And what happened is at about 1 o'clock or so, we had beautiful weather, and all of a sudden this squall went through, dude. Like, giant freaking thunderstorm came over the mountain, blasted through. And I don't know if it's kind of a Florida thing when this happens. I haven't been on the water much here when that happens because it's not a standard sort of thing. But the bite kicked on. Yeah, I don't know if the water cooled off or what the deal was. But basically, I was in mid-lake or so, and all of a sudden I started throwing that chatterbait again, just kind of out of a whim. I felt like, hey, let's get that bait moving. There's some chop on the water. There's some clouds in the sky. And I caught like three 3-pounders in a row, one of which was like 3.6 or something. So I call out like 0.2 ounces or something like that, you know. So the rest of the day was really spent like that, where I'm calling out like a 1/4 pound, maybe 1/8 of a pound. It was very small call-ups. And what I ended up doing too, and I don't know if this is kind of the make or break decision of the derb. So I was mid-lake, and there's a lot of hydrillomats and stuff up north around where the boat ramp is that we dropped in at. And basically at that 1 o'clock period, I'm like, do I run back to my stuff down south and do a rotation through there and see if those fish moved in and see if I can execute on that? Or do I go and fish for one bite? And I made a good decision in some contexts and a bad decision in others. I ran back down and my fish had set up. I ended up I rolled up to one spot, caught 10 fish. 2 of them were like 3.5, 3.75, and you know, called out those fish. So I'm building like a decent limit. I think I was up to like 20.8 at that time or something. I had basically what I would have for the rest of the day. And really, I ended up rolling through those spots. I just couldn't get a big bite. And so ended up back at weigh-in, ran back, stopped at a spot on the way back, had a little sneaky mat that I tried dropping in that I shook off a giant on the day before. She was not home. Somebody probably caught her. You know, I ran in, ended up with, I think on my scale, it was like 20.82. I think I weighed in 20.71, so right in the ballpark. I was 4th place. Someone had 21.9 in front of me for 3rd, and then I think it was like 23 and change, and then 23 and change for 1st. So really what I lacked, my smallest fish was 3.5 pounds. I really lacked another 5-pounder, 5 to 6 pounder, or really a big fish. And that's where I think I made the mistake. I really felt like on some of my stuff that I had down south, I could incrementally call up. So maybe I wouldn't catch that 6-pounder, but I could catch another 4.5. I could catch another 5. I could catch a 5 1/4. But I didn't really think, thought maybe I could catch that giant dragging a worm if they set up in that. But really my philosophy, my approach was I was on a lot of chunk fish, not giant fish. So I thought I could build like a 24, 25 pound limit all on stout ones, you know, without a giant, and that I thought my bite was pretty consistent in the number of spots that I had located. But that ended up biting me in the ass, like totally honest. What I probably should have done is that 1, 2 o'clock range, I probably should have started running up north and really got out that big weight and fished for one fish. I had a good limit. I had that almost 21 pounds. One 5 to 7 pounder would have really put me in the mix for 1st, and that's where I think I made the mistake. The problem is I got a little misled and I started getting bites on that chatterbait, and I'm like, dude, it is game on. I'm going to F their face like right now. Like they're setting up, it's gonna be hot. And but that's how the game is played, and that's why it's kind of fun. This wasn't a 2-day event, but that's why those 2 days events are kind of fun, because you can start off and sort of draw some conclusions, make some assessments, and then tweak your following day based upon the weather conditions, but also based upon what you did in the first place, and really tweak that pattern, tweak that approach. But all in all, it was an absolutely fun time. The guys were super cool at the tournament, dude. We all kind of shared like how we approach things, which was interesting because a lot of these guys got a lot of their bites in the morning. Some guys didn't catch a fish till like 11 o'clock, and I had a little lull, especially between about 9 and 11 or so. We caught some here and there, but it was a tougher day than it's been. And like I said, I attribute that to the pressure. They hear those motors running around, they know it's Saturday, and definitely your patterns, your bites, and the way the fish are set up are going to change. But highly enjoyed it. Absolutely killer day, dude. I appreciate all your support too. All you guys jumped on Instagram and gave me some awesome daps and props. You're not going to see me fishing a bunch of tournaments, but we'll definitely try to get out. I'd really love to shoot a tournament video for you guys and kind of take you along with me, not only for that pre-practice, but for the actual event, and go through that. But we're going to need the correct weather conditions and that, so we'll see how that goes. But if you guys got any questions for me or any tips, I also need tournament tips because I'm a little rusty and dusty. Had to kind of dust off the cull scale and all that stuff for the event, and I definitely was out of my element, but it came back really quickly and I really enjoyed it. But if you guys enjoyed this, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're looking forward to a tournament video, you're definitely going to see one down the line in the near future. But we'll see you back out on the water, talking fishing, talking tournaments, maybe fishing a few, but always catching fish and just following our passion. Later, boys.